You're listening to episode 311 of the Major Issues podcast, and not only is it our very last episode of the year, but we're using it to tackle the last DCEU entry, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. The Major Issues podcast starts right now. Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. And as always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
Hello, I am your aquatic neurotic, Gregory Thomas, aka GT Rebirth.
GT Rebirth is here. We're actually, this is a pretty important day. We're actually recording on Christmas. You know, there's magic in the air. Simultaneously, we are observing Christmas, but we're also going to a bit of a funeral here today as we discuss the final film in the DCEU, Aquaman 2, Electric Boogaloo, Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom. I'm going to be referring to you a bit, GT, because I haven't seen the first one in a very long time. When was the last time you seen the first one?
The day before.
The day before.
Yeah.
Okay. So your memory.
What I try to do with sequels, I tend to watch the previous movie either the day of or the night before, depending on what my work schedule and is looking like.
You're a fan of the first one?
Yes, I thought it was good. It's one of those things where we were in such a time that it's like, if it isn't great, it's trash.
Yeah.
You know, but I thought it was good. Like there was something going on at that time, and even a little bit now, where it feels like it's sacrilege for a film to just be harmless.
Right. This is kind of what we were talking about with the Marvels of it all, right? Like it
wasn't a little bit, yeah.
It wasn't absolutely groundbreaking, but there was still a lot of fun to be had then. So the first one comes out in 2018, so we're like prime, like Black Panther, the start, Infinity War, Endgame.
A lot of brown royalty going on.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we'll get into that, but but yeah, I think I like the first film. I think if it suffers from anything, it almost is too much movie. Like there's a lot of I feel like they took as much of the Jeff Johns stuff as they could on that first go, you know?
Yes.
On the
there's
first go.
There's a lot of that first 2 volumes of Ocean Master in that first movie. Yeah.
And we basically, we get that whole big war at the end. I dug it.
Also, not a terrible animated movie.
No.
Throne of Atlantis.
You're talking about Throne of Atlantis, right?
Yeah.
One of Aquaman's few crossover events. Like every so often, we'll give you one, Arthur. We'll put some water on land.
It is the only Aquaman centric movie in that sphere, isn't it? Yeah.
But I think of crossovers in general, right? Because that was based off of a Justice League, I want to say, volume. Throne of Atlantis was. And then recently in Rebirth, they did Drowned. He got his Drowned story. Yeah, so it's like every so often they'll just throw water onto land and stuff. How do you feel about it upon rewatch? Did you end up liking it more or less, or just about the same?
I liked it about the same. I appreciate, and I remember him talking about it. What's the gentleman's name? Patrick Wilson.
Okay.
I appreciate the sort of commitment he puts into just playing Orm.
Yes.
He talks about the role where it's like, what sometimes when you're reading it and sometimes on paper, it all looks very silly, and I'm like, I'm in a costume, and I'm like the ocean prince or whatnot. But you just gotta play it like it's Shakespeare and play it as straight and as real as the character believes it is.
Yeah. I think he brings a lot of depth to Orm.
Yeah. So like, as long as you just put yourself into the other person's head who believes like this is their world and this is very real to them, I admire that sort of commitment to something that just seems silly on the surface.
Yeah.
Also, like, this is probably just a really on the surface, it's just a really tough movie to make. Like, how do you simulate being a water people?
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that being technology, just the hair stuff was
Yeah.
like a big uh point of contention with how they were going to animate that. Remember when the early I wouldn't even know what to consider this because he was the first one to touch Atlantis. Remember when Zack Snyder was doing the talk bubbles?
Yes. Although there was a bit of contention about that. I think James Wan specifically asked that they don't go to Atlantis in Justice League. So like they're in an
Right,
area of the sea, but like
right,
it is not specifically defined as they have entered Atlantis yet.
right.
Because
Yeah,
James Wan wanted Atlantis to happen in his movie, which I
interesting.
totally get, right?
Yeah, yeah, and they
So
never
like you
go
get
back to
that.
those bubbles.
No, they don't because they had completely different ideas about how people under the water would communicate.
Yeah, yeah,
Which is interesting because you still see the bubble come back, but they just use it differently.
right. Yeah,
Because it's just a way to like take people out of the water and change the effect of water on characters.
yeah. There's a lot
Uh,
of times where they're doing stuff, even in this film, in the sequel, where I'm like, oh yeah, they're underwater. Like it's just get lost to the physics of the world, a bit, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, there's something
yeah,
that's taking place underwater. Um, I do like how Atlantis looks. I like the like sort of luminescent reflections of light and stuff.
the
I like
bioluminescence is so cool.
yeah, it is, and I like the Atlantis highway that they have
Yeah,
apparently, where like the doorway is the Aquaman A, and you have to like go through the highway, like
yeah.
pay your toll or whatever.
They
I
did a
like
thing
that
in the
stuff.
second movie, which I thought you'd appreciate as someone who just finished the game, where they do the what do you call it? Like uh the pipeline,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
the jet
which
stream,
is
so to speak.
yeah, they do that in also in gosh, Finding Nemo.
Do they? Okay, I've actually never
the
seen that.
the the turtles know like a channels. They know channels to go in and they like slipstream kind of stuff.
Right.
Which I really dug in this. What do you think of Nicole Kidman in that first one?
Um, I think she gives exactly the role that she pretty much
Wants?
explains.
Oh,
Huh?
I think you say
But
wants.
I mean, to a degree, yes. Once, like, I think she gives about as much effort as she explains on one of those THR roundtables where she's just like, partly did it for the money and partly did it for a movie my kids would actually be interested in watching.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I can see that. They're not all turning on the hours.
Yeah,
Um, so the thing
and
about
luckily
this
for I was gonna
film.
sorry, but luckily for
No,
her,
you're
she
good.
doesn't have much to do.
Right, right. The thing about this film is, about the first film, is it like unprecedentedly hit $1 billion.
Yes,
1.152 billion. I think it is I know it's definitely the highest grossing DCEU film. And I think it might be the highest grossing film based on a DC Comics character.
which no
Uh,
one would have believed you 10 years ago.
no. And
Which DC movie is gonna make the most money? Aquaman. What the
we
are
got
we
a
in a script from what's that show? The
Entourage.
Entourage? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Um, I it's got to be. I mean, a lot of this film is on the back of Jason Momoa, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was cast as Aquaman in Batman versus Superman, and thus the Aquaman for this universe. We've seen him now in Justice League. We've seen a little bit of him in The Flash, um, and he was I mean, I don't even want to say this as like a pejorative, but he was the edgy Aquaman, right? Like he was the
Yes.
gritty.
As
Is that better than edgy?
I wouldn't
Edgy, I
call it.
feel like
I wouldn't call
has
it
no point.
gritty. I wouldn't call it gritty. I would just call it more just like uh grounded and relatable to a certain amount of people
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, he's like smashing liquor bottles into the ocean,
Yeah,
and standing in its waves.
yeah.
There's definitely a badass nature when it comes to this character. Um,
Did you see
how does that sit with you with this characterization of Aquaman versus any one you have in your head, if you have one in your head?
So I actually loved it, and I thought it was a great take on it because for me it's like I find the typical Aquaman that you see in the book to be sort of like in the comic books to be sort of like standard fare in the sense of, oh, how do we imagine royalty? We imagine this sort of Anglo-Saxon, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, aristocratic character, and that's
Right,
the Aquaman you get in the comic books and subsequently, video games and stuff after that.
right.
And granted, there's a period, and then there's a period of like heavy metal Aquaman with the hook hand and the beard and the long
Which is probably
hair.
the closest to this, right? That
Yes, to some degree, yes.
Yeah,
And I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure some of that helped with the decision of just like he looks kind of like this one.
right,
Um,
right. Yeah,
uh, but I also really dug that when we get into the cinematic movies of it all, there is usually some level of quote in real life IRL relation of
right.
character to the idea.
Hmm.
I like the idea that the King of the Seas was a Polynesian islander.
Yeah,
I just really dug that. Like it felt natural. It didn't feel
yeah,
like we stuck a British aristocrat in the ocean for
yeah,
no
yeah,
reason.
yeah.
you
Kind of like
know,
the Namor of it all, to the Mayans.
yes, yes,
You know,
and I almost felt like the framing of Orm as exactly that is them sort of pushing against that depiction of him and
interesting.
of the expectation of who would be king.
The Golden Boy.
Yeah.
I also
I
wonder if
appreciated that take.
I wondered if they would have went straight up blonde Aquaman, the Thor and Loki stuff would have been way too obvious, right?
It would have, yeah. It
Now,
would
now,
have.
I like literally just clicked to me because for the most part in the comics, Orm has his helmet on. That's how the man rock. You don't
Yeah.
ever really get to see it. But if he took his helmet off, he'd look like Loki. Like he would resemble, you know.
That's right. He is sort
And
of a dark haired character in the comic books, isn't he?
yeah, because Arthur is blonde haired. So if they would have done it the same way here and coming so close to everything else, I don't think that would have worked too
Yeah.
well.
There is a lot
But
of
I
Thor and Loki in it.
but I like those two castings. I like Yahya Abdul Mateen as Manta.
Did you
Like
hear Momoa talking about the casting?
no,
So it was on like that terrible, not terrible, but like that obviously half-efforted our marketing plan where they just like here's these guys in a room talking about the movie.
okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, just the chairs.
It's the most dry one advertising campaign to a $1 billion movie sequel I've ever seen.
Right.
Um, and Momoa was talking about coming in. Momoa is coming into this. First off, I think he says he auditioned for Batman just to do it, knowing like there's no way he was winning that role.
Okay.
Um,
That's interesting.
or like if I'm remembering that point correctly, but he went in for a Batman related thing, and then Ben Affleck got the deal. He's like, sure, that makes sense. And then they called him about coming in for something, and he's just like, okay, yeah, I get it. They saw me, and they were just like, yeah, this guy could beat up Batman. He's like, like who's the kind of guy we're gonna get to beat up Batman and Superman? Okay, they're bringing me in to play like Lobo, big guy. I can beat those
Yeah.
up. Yeah, I totally get it. That's fine. I can die well. um, and then they offer him the Aquaman thing, and he doesn't understand it because that his vision of Aquaman is exactly one we understand: blonde haired, blue eyed, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that's when they sold him on the Polynesian Islander, man of the sea and of the land simultaneously, sort of thing. And he's just like, oh wow, that's actually really cool. Like that he was once they played it to him with that cultural connection in mind, he was in. And I thought that was another part of it that I thought was really cool. Like I think he felt a genuine connection to it once they related it to him.
Okay.
And I think that was a relation that nobody had actually seen until they thought about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of Jason I feel like wrapped up into this depiction
Yeah,
of Aquaman.
Aqua Bro.
Um Aqua Bro in a lot of ways. Um we spoke a little bit off air about this sequel. We've been joking that it had a real Thor the Lost World feel to it. Um
Yeah, I love
I,
how
I,
you put them. I love how you combined both titles.
yeah, the lost should have been Thor the Lost. Yeah, no, not the Lost World. The
It's the dark world.
Thor the Dark Kingdom. Um, Aqua Thor the Dark Kingdom. Sounds like one of those honest trailer titles.
Yeah, it does.
Um, so this is a sequel. This is a DC sequel. Before we get into it, let's get the homework out of the
One
way.
of the
Uh,
one of actually
Go ahead.
one of only two direct sequels, right?
The other one being Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And Wonder
because like,
Woman made $1 billion, didn't it? It just didn't make as much as this. I feel like, if I
I'm
can
actually
remember
not
correctly,
sure.
or maybe 800.
I think it might have been in the 800 range,
We're looking
like
at
really
it.
freaking high.
Yeah, 823, 823.
Mm.
So yeah, those were easily the two highest performing films. So they got their sequels, but I feel like this one hurts. I mean, did you feel the stretch of time as badly as you did with like Doctor Strange?
Um, no, but I hearken that to the fact that when Aquaman succeeded as well as they did, they made it a point to tell you two was coming.
Yeah.
The advertising campaign at the peak of the success of the first Aquaman was almost instantaneous. Like I think it happened about an April Fool's thing where it was like they gave out a joke advertisement for Shazam and it turned out to be Aquaman or something like that.
Oh wow.
There was something that they did to make it, kind of stand out. But they were like, yeah, Aquaman 2. Or it might have been in reverse, but like they were pushing for you to believe that Aquaman 2 was coming because it was so well received, at least financially.
Yeah, it says even Momoa pitched a story for the sequel during production of the first one.
Okay.
Um, he agreed in January of 2019 to oversee development
Mm.
of this film. But like we just said, if I'm not mistaken, the other film came out in December of the previous year. So
Yes.
basically a month after the film comes out, he's like, "Yeah, I will oversee it. I will oversee the
Yeah.
sequel."
Which means
And
a
it
month
doesn't come
after the
out.
film comes out and it was already widely successful financially, they're just like, okay, number two.
Yeah, but it also doesn't come out for 5 years.
Yeah.
Even though, but like it got hit with every right, like every terrible thing that could possibly happened to this film,
Yeah.
including actors being put in court cases, the pandemic for filming and stuff like that. Um, yeah, there's a lot of at one point. I think even Jason Momoa was accused of like doing some stuff to the Amber Heard on set or whatever,
I don't
like
I think there
instigating the Johnny Depp of it all, or maybe they ended up throwing that out. I think I
maybe.
heard someone say that he showed up on set dressed like Johnny Depp to get a
Oh
rise out of
yes, I
her,
remember that. I remember
and then
that story,
somebody
yeah.
else said, "Well, if it's just a bunch of rings and scarves, that's basically Jason too." So like, and I was like, "Yeah, that
Like
that
no,
makes
they
a lot."
just kind of dress similar.
Yes, yes. And I always assume that with all those rings that they haven't washed their hands, which is not, I
Yeah.
don't know. There's something piratey about about all that. But yeah, they started off, you know, they hit $1 billion. They decided we're gonna make this thing a sequel. Um, and then like I said, they got hit with all this other stuff. But let's get into this film. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, a 2023 American superhero film based on the DC character Aquaman, produced by DC Studios, Atomic Monster, and the Saffron Company, and is distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. It is the sequel to Aquaman 2018 and is the 15th film and final installment in the DCEU. The film was directed by James Wan from a screenplay by David Leslie McGoldrick and stars Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry, Aquaman, alongside Patrick Wilson, Amber Heard, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Randall Park, Dolph Lundgren, Tamara Morrison, Martin Short, and Nicole Kidman. Were you aware who Martin Short is playing in this?
I I was aware when his name came up in the credits after the fact.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's the Brian King. Right?
I was not aware he was in the film at all until like his name came up. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, because I feel like what's his face voiced him in the first one, Willem Dafoe.
Oh really? Wait, was Kingfish in the first one?
Oh, not Kingfish. I mean, who voiced the Brian King?
Oh,
because I'm almost certain that Brian King was voiced in the first one by Willem Dafoe, who's not in this film. Sadly, he must have been working in a lighthouse or something.
No. It says John Rhys Davies returns from the first film to voice the Brian King.
Really?
Yes.
That's hilarious. So
Brian King was hilarious. At least I thought so.
Yeah, he kind of hit by his hand. In the film, Arthur must work with his half brother Orm to prevent Black Manta from killing his family and using the cursed Black Trident to overheat the world while searching for the lost seventh kingdom of the sea. GT, what did you think of this sequel? Before we get into spoilers,
I thought it was solid. I think if you remove everything around it, surrounding it, it's a solid sequel. I don't know that it's as good as the first one to me, but I think it's a solid comic book movie. I think we've got a lot of solid comic book movies.
Yeah. So like if you took all the DC stuff and you split it in half, where do you think this falls? On what on the higher end or the lower end?
Or you know what? I think I've got to say
chopped in the middle.
I think I've got to say the higher end because the lower end's got some lows, baby.
They are,
and I don't think this is anywhere near to those. I don't think like if we're talking the lows are Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman 84, and maybe I don't want to say the Flash. I think the Flash just has a lot of negative energy around it.
I ended up enjoying the Flash more than I thought I would. Even knowing how much negativity came through it. And I don't judge those who don't necessarily dig it or like how it looks. Like I completely get that and part of that whole thing.
But I think you're talking Wonder Woman 84, Suicide Squad, and Justice League. I don't think it's nearly that low.
No.
So I think those lows are very significant, and I don't think it belongs there.
How do you think it ranks on the DCEU films that came out this year? Blue Beetle, The Flash, and Shazam.
So I can't speak for Shazam. I still have not seen Fury of the Gods.
Okay.
I don't remember what you guys talk because I try not to watch the episode. I try not to listen to the episodes about the movie I haven't seen yet. What did you think?
Yeah, makes sense. Well, I wasn't a fan.
Okay,
but it just felt
so Fury's on the lower end.
Yes, yeah, but not. So it's weird. I'm going through this weird phase, which I guess is over now because the DCEU is over now, where even though I know that some of these entries are inoffensive, I'm almost miffed at what I perceive to be like a thin layer of effort.
Okay.
You know? And it's weird. Like, there's some weird needle drops in this, right? Like Spirit in the Sky. That's weird, right? Born to Be Wild.
Yeah,
that's a bit weird, right?
Born to Be Wild. I almost kind of get. I think the energy matches Momoa.
Yeah, But that's the thing. I think the energy matches Momoa, but now Momoa is Arthur. Like, there's a shot in this. This gives nothing to the film, but there's literally, and I went back to see what is it in reference to. There's just a shot of him doing donuts in a motorcycle. It's not going anywhere. He didn't come from anywhere. There's just shots of his Tamara Morrison holding the baby, and him just doing donuts in a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I think with sunglasses on. So, yeah, this to me felt like, and I have the same malice that I think you did towards it, but this felt a little Ragnarok-y to me.
Okay.
In the sense that it felt like, but again, I haven't seen the first one in so long. This one felt more comedic.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. I think the lack of malice is because I don't think they made Aquaman to be as much of a doofus as Thor, but I get the relation.
Sometimes. Well, I guess he was always right, because he literally bangs his head to knock over a statue. He goes to pee on something in the first one, right?
See,
you know what I'm saying? Like, there was no cliff to fall down, but like, he is kind of played as a bit of a dullard. Like, he is kind of played as a bit of like, you smash through the wall, but there's a doorknob right here kind of guy.
Well, yes, I think Arthur is kind of a punch first kind of guy, and literally will lead with his head on a physical level more than a mental one. Yes. And there's a lot of like, it works, so he gets away with it.
Yeah,
because the joke is that he smashes into the statue in the one scene, and like, oh, it doesn't work, and we make fun of him, but it does work, and it's just like, right. See,
so who's really got
like,
the last
there's
laugh.
no need for him to change because it keeps working.
Yeah. He just felt like he was having a better time on this, but they say that he co-wrote the story.
Okay.
So I could see that.
I guess if he pitched it, he may as well, right?
Yeah, that gives you a lot of skin in the game. And he probably really liked working alongside Patrick Wilson, because they have a bit of a buddy cop, situation going on in this film.
Yeah. I can see them doing more movies after this.
What an extended role for Randall Park, who only had like a split second in post credit, right? In the first one?
No, he also has like a few news bits in the first one.
He's the like the go-to person on the news for the Atlanteans or something like that. Like,
he's the guy.
He believes in the rumors and all that stuff.
He's the guy who's basically like, no, this thing exists. We need to push for it. One of them is, and I have it on good authority that one of them is here. And they're all like, you're ridiculous. Which at that point I start like, it's a thing I have an issue about. I joked about it in the Flash. Not the movie, but the TV show.
Right.
Where at first I can understand your reactions when you get like 7 seasons deep into the Flash and people are going, I can't believe that. I'm like, what can't you believe at this point?
Oh, I mean,
what have you seen that you can't believe?
One of the other things I had an issue with in this that kind of leads to that is it's said that they wanted to do a lot more world building in this.
Okay.
But I feel like they just drop lore out of the sky. Like, there's like a whole cantina, right? There's like a whole like Scum and Villainy cantina that they just drop out of the sky that has been
my friend next to me immediately called Kingfish Jabba the Hutt.
That makes a lot of sense. Orm literally says something along the lines of like, this is where all the scum of the, the surface and the water meet, or whatever. There's like a whole little place of like desert people who drink the blood of their enemies.
Yes.
They're like evil Groot people there.
I feel like there's 2 scenes, if I'm not mixing it up with the first movie, where Patrick Wilson has to monologue out whole chunks of lore.
Oh my! It's mostly him, but it's also Nicole Kidman a lot.
Okay,
and
yes.
And the thing is, this is where I'm in like a weird position with this film, because I don't think any of its crimes are worth persecuting it for.
Yeah.
But it's like the 10th film in a row to do them. You know?
Okay.
So I just like it's exactly what you're saying. It's all the, but that's just a myth. That's just a legend. You know
Yeah.
that you know. Oh, you saw a Lost Kingdom? I did hear that there was one kingdom that completely disappeared. I never checked in on it. No one ever asked around.
It
We
was
never
wiped.
told
It was
you.
wiped from the records, George.
Yeah, we never told you, and thus, now we can all get sprung with
Yeah.
this
And
inconvenience.
and there's a scene in the first movie that has one just like that, where Orm has to like sort of explain the seven kingdoms to Neris, who knows what it is. So
As
he
you know,
has to
Harris.
so he has to do it right. So he has to do it in what is clearly an obnoxious way.
Yeah.
Because to say that he's doing it to hear himself talk or to give Neris shit. But like where he has to explain like, don't you know where we are amongst the seven kings of blah 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 blah, that he goes into the whole spiel, and it's just like you just see Neris just like, I know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah,
Why are
bro.
you saying this to me?
We don't even really get those kingdoms in this.
No,
Only if it was a COVID thing.
you get the main ones that they established in the first film in person, which is the Brine Kingdom and
Zebel.
Zebel. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot more screen time for Lundgren.
That's why I wonder if there was like a COVID thing. Like we just need Mira.
Who can show up, write more for them.
Yes, and then they will be basically like do a lot of the expositing like we were talking about from before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found myself having fun, and then there were certain moments where I was just like, I don't get who this is for. But
the bombs in
overall,
the face the bombs in the face returned.
Yes. And he said something like, I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Which at least, put a lampshade over that. Like I dug that.
He's recognized that this has become a pattern.
Yeah. This film has a very weird relationship with Mira.
Okay.
I feel like where they want her there and they want to respect her.
Yeah.
And but they don't, I feel like she's not given the same stuff to say or do as Aquaman. Like I feel like she had a lot of stuff to say or do in the first one, and now we obviously know there was a trial. They were talking about supposedly cutting a bit of her time, but there's like 3 Mira reveals in this.
She makes a point to say that, like, so like it was seemingly widely reported, and I'm doing this through hearsay because I made a point to avoid that trial like it was the goddamn plague, but it seemed like it made the rounds that it was widely reported, so to speak, that Amber Heard at least testified to the point that her role in the film was significantly diminished because of the publicity, the negative publicity of everything surrounding the case.
Yeah.
It does not feel like it is.
So this is as early not early, I mean like recent as October 10th. Variety put an article out where Mira said that that there was 2 scenes, one where her fighting Manta, which I mean there is a scene of her fighting Manta, and one with her like having a tender moment with Arthur, which I don't think they did in the film at all.
Okay.
But this is also now in the same article is where it says that supposedly Jason Momoa showed up on set late and he was dressed like Johnny Depp.
Interesting.
Yeah, so these guys are not having fun. Maybe that's what we're seeing come through here. They didn't feel connected. They didn't feel like a team. She would just like show up, and then her music, that one song that Skylar Grey wrote for her in the first movie. Just
and she gets to play it on like a little clarinet thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
That said, I'm sort of an unabashed Rule of Cool Mira fan. So
same.
Like, I'm just sort of like separating myself from the Amber Heard of it all. I'm just like, do your cool ass aquakinesis, girl.
Yeah, ironically, I think her best Aquakinesis moment was in Zack Snyder's Justice League
Was it?
when he's like, where she like pulls the blood out from Steppenwolf, like in the water, like she's pulling all the
That
water from
sounds
him, and then she
gross.
starts pulling his blood out through his nose. Yeah, it's pretty. It's pretty. I mean, it's not any more deadly than wine skewers, right? Then she like take a bunch of
Right.
wine and stabs some people with it. Um,
Yeah, because she's pulling the water out of the wine bottles and basically they all explode.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yep, yep.
It's actually
So
really terrifying the things you could like Mirror could probably do to the human body, considering how much of our body is made up of.
right, the aquakinesis is bonkers, and I had only really gotten to know it from the Jeff Johns run of Aquaman, and then they kind of touched upon it here. And then she dies in Flashpoint, so there's that too. But let's get into
Oh, Diana takes
Aquaman.
her fucking takes
Yeah,
her
it takes
head.
her head. Takes her head.
Oh, Flashpoint.
We are going full spoilers ahead with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. 7 years after becoming, sorry, several years after becoming King of Atlantis, Arthur Curry has married Mira and he has a son, Arthur Jr. He
Mm.
splits his life between the land and sea. He hangs out with his dad in the lighthouse on land, and then he has very, very serious, duties as the King of Atlantis
And by
ever since
serious, he means boring.
and he's incredibly bored with the job. And Orm is in prison after the events of the last film, so he's kind of learning the job as he goes along. Not everybody's digging it or digging the way he's trying to do things. But another thing is, and this is one of those like lore dropped out of nowhere kind of thing. There's a council
Yeah.
now. I don't know if there always was one, or I think the way he says it is like there always was one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like Orm was doing some kind of wild shit in the last film, so like maybe this is what happens after the fact. But
Yeah.
they're a bit xenophobic. They do not like surface dwellers at all, or at least the one
Shocking.
that talks the most doesn't. All right.
Shocking.
Um, enlisting the help of marine biologist Stephen Shin, David Kane, aka Black Manta, looks for ancient Atlantean artifacts, hoping that he can find something to help fix his suit so he can kill Aquaman. The search has come up empty-handed on multiple occasions, but eventually leads them to the Arctic, where they stumble upon ancient beasts trapped in ice, and where Manta finds a mysterious black triton that is split in half. He joins the ends together and is instantly possessed, and a mysterious figure tells him that if he helps free him, he'll give him enough power to kill Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur is woken up by Mira, who tells him that there is an emergency meeting in Atlantis. Turns out the oceans are being poisoned at what seems to be the effects of global warming, but at like a weirdly alarming rate. There's news cast about it. There's been a plague outbreak, and we hear that this is the second wave of plagues. The first one having killed Volko.
Okay.
Willem Dafoe's character in the first film. Were you surprised he was kind of just like killed off?
Yes, I actually had forgotten that he didn't make the film, so like it just came as a sad thing to me. Despite the fact that I don't always watch stuff he does, because Willem Dafoe makes very weird film choices, I actually really like him as an actor.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I get to see him in something that doesn't make me go, "What the fuck am I watching?" I'm always happy to do so. So I was sad to see him not be here. And especially because Volko in the comic books is kind of a in the middle character. So there was actually a lot of there was a lot of potential for like I guess you could just say like any sort of future dubious decision making on his part.
Yeah, yeah. I can do that. I'm also like, oh no, Mysterious Sickness, Kingdom. Like I just saw Black Panther 2.
I
I'm like,
hadn't
what's
made the
going on?
connection, but I get it.
I was like, oh no, what's going on here? Heart shaped earth, bro. So Arthur wants Atlant. Oh,
What happened?
I stepped on my own self because in mentioning the heart-shaped Earth, because Arthur wants Atlantis to reveal itself to the
Ah, yes.
surface. But the High Council disapproves, saying if they were to reveal themselves to the surface, it would be to eradicate them.
Hmm.
So there's that.
I think it's an unfortunate truth that there would always be a lot of like surface similarities between Wakanda and Atlantis.
Right. And then you also have the xenophobic nature I get because we are literally unapologetically destroying the ocean.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that I get. That's hostile, right? Like they're not doing absolutely anything to us.
Yeah.
We are literally just unapologetically
I do
just
find it hilarious though that they take it very personally and like I guess because he's the only one who gets to be up there, he's like, dude, they have no idea we exist.
yeah. Yeah.
You're mad at them for being dicks about it, and it's like they don't know that there's anything here.
Yeah, it's like you're in a room full of let's say Caucasian people, and then you're just randomly throwing around the N-word, and then you turn to your black friend and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, it's like these disgusting, filthy surface dweller. Sorry, Arthur. You know,
Yeah,
and then,
right.
and she's not even apologizing. She
Yeah.
knows. She knows that that's the case.
And
But
like,
yeah,
there's like one guy up there who thinks he knows, who believes he knows.
yeah,
Nobody believes him, so
no, no,
they don't think we exist.
absolutely ridiculous. Um, so yeah, they do not want to be seen by the surface people.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur has a sweet conversation with his father about trying to do it all, and his dad advises him to just take it a day at a time. Tamora Morrison makes a good father figure. I
Mm-hmm.
like him.
Yeah.
I think his rough around the edges kind of demeanor is just endearing as a dad because he just embodies so many imperfect dads. Not saying this,
Yeah.
anyone needs to be perfect, but you get what I'm saying there.
Yeah. He, he
Um,
he's he's really good at playing like uh gruff in a way that is actually endearing though.
yeah,
Like
that's
he's
what I meant by
not.
like rough around the edges. I was like, I'm not trying
Yeah.
to call the man unattractive or anything like
Oh yeah,
that.
no. Yeah. Like I mean like he sort of plays. You don't get that mean spirited tough love. It's just it's more like your dad's gonna give you some shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he'll have take you to go to a bar afterwards.
Yeah.
Have a beer about it.
Yeah. And then he's also going to teach you about like ancient Greek kings and stuff like that. So you
Yes.
understand how riddles work.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing. Got to cover one
Yeah.
eye.
Yeah.
Manta goes on a deep sea expedition using technology located after he found the Triton. It seems ever since he touched it, he'd been imbued with untold knowledge, like the location of the aforementioned vehicles and knowledge of their ancient and incredibly volatile fuel, orichalcum. So now
That took
we
a while to
are,
get that took a while to learn how
yeah,
to say.
yeah. So now we have established a new metal
Element
of
of
sorts
sort.
or whatever. Yeah.
Eh,
I said metal. A new element of sort. So like I said, it's you need this to move the film forward. It just feels
Yeah.
like the 10th thing to do it. You know, I
Yeah.
was like, no one knows what this orichalcum is. Now we know what orichalcum is. We have these bombs, and instead of destroying them, we put them in vaults. They need to stop trusting the Atlanteans to do things for safety reasons. They got the mother box stolen from them. They're hiding basically like kerosene
Yeah.
in these vaults. But they are, they are fish people, so I can't blame them too
I
much.
mean, in
But
fairness, the Themyscirians couldn't hold on to it either.
yeah, that's also true. They sunk a whole like like Coliseum or whatever that thing was into
Yeah.
the ocean, and it still didn't work.
And several people trapped inside of it.
Hey, Linda, you knew what the job was when you signed up for it.
Oh dear.
This expedition is really a heist to steal all the orichalcum that Atlantis has been hiding in deep sea vaults to power their machines.
Hmm.
You know what's strange about this on second watch? This
What?
feels like it was shot. Like I remember when I saw it in the film, I'm like, I kind of want him to get away.
Okay.
And I guess we don't ever really see the villain heist stuff, right? We just know that they've hacked something or whatever. Like watching him go through the this very shady part of the ocean, and with these weird, almost steampunk octopus ships. Like I was kind of rooting for this whole situation to go well,
Yeah.
even though he's the bad guy and he's planning to kill our protagonist. Um,
Amusingly, that's the second time I've seen that style of ship, and one of them was in a Star Trek movie.
yeah, I've those things remind me of, and this is a very niche reference, but they were like they used to be like fish. Was it fish? Like the fish spaceships in Power Rangers when they were fighting like the underwater
I
weird
know what you're talking
steampunk
about. Yeah,
underwater pirate
like
woman.
the Zords.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely got things from that, and I had to watch it twice because I thought I had figured it out. Like the whole um, Shin knows that they're using the orichalcum to power the machines,
Hmm.
but what does he think is like? To what end does he think? Because I know his real plan, as we will talk about in a bit, is to just allow all the fumes for the burnt out orichalcum to heat the earth so that they could free Cordax, I think is his name.
Yeah,
Um, but what does Shin think is going on? Or is he just? I know at various points he shows that he's in the rest and much rather not be there. But I was really curious as to like what he thought this portion of this was.
yeah. I think he's mostly confused by a lot of it, or he's just worried that like it's being weaponized in a more obvious manner.
Yeah, I
Because
also can see him kind of. This is the guy that's gonna get him to the place that he believes exists but has no proof.
yeah,
This might be his Nobel Prize, right? Like this, like if he can figure out stuff, bring something back or whatever. Maybe that's where his head's at with all this stuff. Because to me, it looks pretty evil. Like all of it looks pretty. So like when he eventually like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. I'm like, bro, you didn't see him shoot that man's wife with his laser vision. Like shit's going rough. So yeah, let's talk about that scene because Topo the octopus sees Manta and his crew and sets off the alarm. The bad guys manage to escape the vault with what they need, but then they are faced with getting out of Atlantis. They do so by destroying the main guns and bulldozing their way through. Arthur's mom and Mira try to take them down with other Atlantean soldiers, and Arthur's queen manages to crash Manta's ship, but he damn near kills her with an optic blast. Knowing the stuff with the trial, I was like, oh, that was it. She's gonna be in the hospital for the rest of this movie. Um, he tries to outright kill Mira with the trident, but Arthur arrives, so he crashes an Atlantean train. So that
I
Arthur
actually
has to
thought that was
choose.
it for her.
Yeah, I thought she was gone. Um, he crashes an Atlantean train so that Arthur has to choose between saving his people or apprehending him.
Yeah.
He also comes in and says, don't mess with my wife," right? And then later it's "Don't mess with my baby."
Yeah.
He likes entering rooms. Uh, of course, Arthur chooses to save the people on the train, and he manages to, and almost catches up to Manta, but is incapacitated due to their machines having powerful sonic emitters that take down the sea god. The council considers stripping Arthur of his powers, um, and considers the Manta attack like Arthur's surface sins coming back to haunt his people.
Mm.
They have Mira. She is in critical condition. They're like putting seaweed and stuff on her. I like all their weird medical stuff. He comes in with medical tools and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Arthur meets with his mother and King Nereus of Zebel, who's Mira's dad and who
It's
is
interesting.
was once the Punisher.
It's interesting because like the medical stuff they use seems like super high tech in the first movie because they're using like a lot of like future tech to take
Holograms and
care of
stuff.
Tamara Morrison's character.
Okay. Yeah.
But in this, it's just like we wrapped Orm in seaweed.
Right. And still, like the ships are still the Tony Stark school of grab things and turn things.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder how they like people do that stuff without it there.
Yeah.
Like steer the ship. There's no steering. Well, yeah, no, you put your hands in, right? Okay, sure, guy.
It's hilarious,
Um,
even though like you understand we've got to move the plot along. It's hilarious how quickly people seem to learn alien technologies.
yes, yeah. There was so many weird like guns in this, right? Like everyone had their own gun. They had orichalcum guns. The Sand People had their own weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Atlanteans have their own guns. It's quite interesting. I guess that's world building somewhere, right?
A little bit.
Uh, they discuss how dangerous the orichalcum is in both the water and on the surface, and they have worse news. Turns out every single vault that had it has already been raided.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Manta has been using the last couple of months trying to grab it all up, and he's trying to heat the planet, but they can't figure out why. And they do know if they don't stop him, he can cause a global catastrophe.
Yeah.
Arthur decides that he will break his brother Orm, who has a history with Manta, out of an allied nation's jail in exchange for his help finding him. Is this good or bad royalty in GT?
Um, it's terrible loyalty. It's terrible politically,
Right.
but
Uh, they
it it is what it
Thor
is.
does break Loki out of prison though, and to fight Malekith, doesn't he? Or does he?
So I think
Is,
that
or is there no prison because they blew up the
I think the interesting difference there is that politically speaking, Thor breaks Loki out of their prison,
his own prison? Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
or Aquaman is breaking Orm out of a prison of another nation who's had the sovereign rights because he came to them and ended aggressively.
And we also have to state that Thor put Loki in prison for the crimes of everything.
Yeah,
But also these are crimes and customs and stuff that he believes in because he's Asgardian.
right.
Whereas Aquaman is like, what? He's in a what? He's in a weird sand prison. All right,
Yeah,
I'll go get him. Screw these people. So yeah, he makes it very clear that he will be doing it. He'll be doing it without permission, and he'll be doing it undercover. Boom. Yeah, so that's when we get Spirit in the Sky. Using a stealth suit, he breaks his emaciated. He breaks his emaciated and incredibly dehydrated brother out of prison. He says something like, "You're the one who put me in here," and then Aquaman says something like, "Stop bringing up old shit." That I thought was funny. That felt very off the cuff, Momoa. Stop bringing up old shit.
Yeah.
He breaks them out of prison, but they're chased by the weird people who run it, the evil group people, and like the weird horses that they ride. Orm falls onto
Big
the shore.
bony seahorses.
Yes. Orm falls onto the shore, and once he's engulfed with water, he gets his MCU abs back, and he whoops their asses. What do you think about that scene?
I kind of saw it coming. It's like, oh, the water's gonna revive him. That's cute. Whatever.
I was quite impressed with Mr. Wilson's physique. I was like, oh, look at you, look at that
Yeah.
there. I also there might also be a callback to Aquaman originally because I think he had to go to the water every so often.
Yeah.
Like if he
I
didn't,
think
he
so. Yeah.
die. Back in the day when Green Lantern couldn't fight wood or whatever. Like those times. The Dark Ages. Later, he tells
It's
Arthur
actually.
that. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's actually kind of weird, right? That they uh Arthur's supposed to be this half breed, but like he is still bound by the physical ailments of full Atlanteans, full blooded
Yeah,
Atlanteans.
yeah. That's the difference. That's the main difference here with the whole, saying all the allusions to Thor and Loki is that like this is Orm's been raised to be king, kind
Yeah.
of, and yeah, he did take it a bit too far, but he really does truly want a good Atlantis. He tells Arthur that when he's done helping him, he's going to surrender himself back to the prison because he has honor. Do you believe that?
To some degree.
Yeah.
I think Orm, while having a um a sort of extreme version of his own rules and mentalities is sort of deeply into the aristocratic his own aristocratic ideas.
Yeah, you don't do it that for that long without getting a bit indoctrinated. And
Yeah.
um, I think I will credit this movie. I really think besides how other people may have interpreted certain moments, I applaud this film for not teasing treachery.
On Orm's
You
part,
know?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. On
You
Arm's part,
they
because
get
it's
one moment, and
yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
not
saying.
even
And
against Arthur.
yeah, and one could argue that it was perception that
Yeah.
moment, right? Like that son of a bitch. I knew it. I knew it. Like it's one of those moments, but he hadn't been proven to be devious yet. It
Yeah.
hadn't fallen all the way through. Um, and I think given what we know about Thor and Loki, like you're always kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop. The you're talking about the brother who wants the throne, tells you don't deserve it. Is gonna help you, but just on this mission, you're waiting for that other shoe to drop. And I'm glad that it doesn't, because it really does help form the characterization of Orm as somebody who does believe in law and order, who does believe
Yeah.
in right and wrong, and maybe his version or his perception of what was right and wrong got skewed, but he's a man of law.
I also think are we in the forest at this point?
We're about to get there.
Okay.
Because they're going to Kingfish first.
Okay.
Um, they
Let's
wonder
go
what's
ahead.
become. Yeah, they wonder what's become of David Kane, who we see is now running an elaborate pollution machine. That's just what it is, right? Just like a big pollution machine. I was thinking to myself, because I'm like, he told Shin we need the orichalcum to fuel the octopuses,
Mm-hmm.
but now he's just is seemingly just pumping out. He's just burning and pumping out orichalcum, and that's when Shin's looking around like, I don't know, if I should be doing this. Um, Matt to himself. Oh, he's doing all this. Oh, he's also doing it out of a hollowed out volcano. It's like the Frank Scorpio. Like
There's a
he's
very
the most.
silly line that I laughed at where I think Manson just goes, "Thank God for global warming, huh?" And she's just like,
Yeah,
"It's
yeah,
actually a huge problem."
yeah, yeah, yeah. Randall Park has good line delivery.
He does. It's
I,
one
I
of his best traits.
yeah, I like him in this. Um, so
Also,
the fumes.
way to make that double comic book movie, Randall Park.
Yeah. When was the last time did we see he was in Quantumania?
I don't think
He
so.
was.
I think we last see him in like WandaVision.
I vaguely remember him and the. I vaguely remember him and Ant-Man at a dinner table, and then they do like magic tricks for their cards. I might be misplacing that, but yeah. Man of many talents, including close-up magic.
Yes.
So Mata himself is seemingly possessed by this trident. His eyes are glowing the same reflection of green that it does. He threatens Shin, insisting that he cooperates with his evil plan. Together, they go visit Jabba the Hutt, Kingfish, at a
Mm-hmm.
secret underground sector of the sea where people do illegal things called the Sunken Citadel. Again, I'm a big pirates guy, so it's just like Tortuga. It's every
Mm.
it's they got one in Star Wars. Besides, they have the whole planet of illegal stuff in Star Wars.
Uh, yeah, there's a few of them. There's a few like outlaw planets in Star Wars
Okay,
because like there's not like a major galactic law hub
right.
like there is in some of the other shows.
Yeah, they don't have the reach.
Now,
Um, it's basically the cantina. There's even a weird space bar and a weird space band. And I was like, okay. Kingfish was Orm's connect to David Kane, but he doesn't seem in the mood to help these two.
mm-hmm.
Arthur threatens to tear the place apart, and Kingfish doesn't take kindly to that threat, and his men do
Oh,
battle with the
actually,
Antian brothers. Go ahead.
I will argue to some degree that this is the first hint of potential treachery on Orm's
Ah,
part.
yes, yes.
Where
Because he says
he's
that
just like,
he doesn't get along with pirates, right?
yeah, I'm aware. And then,
Right,
and then like very briefly, Arthur's just like, oh crap, did I get suckered?
right. And again, because they were already having an argument in the ship about how he's running things and how he's doing things and how he always thinks everything's a joke.
Yeah.
So this seems like this was the very first thing after saving Orm. It seemed like Orm would just then feed him right to a group of pirates.
Yeah. This and a lot of upcoming scenes are going to be the thing I miss the most.
Yeah,
Where I thought, oh man, there's actually some pretty good stuff to mine based both off the writing and the chemistry of the two actors of Orm and Arthur's relationship blossoming and Orm just kind of changing as a person.
yeah. I got at the end of this, I got like Tauro vibes from him.
I could see
You
that.
know, like I want him to go and live a life. You know, I want him to go and just figure aside from this,
Send his
like this
nephews a truck.
destiny. Yeah, yeah. Uh, besides like this the heavy burden of destiny, what else? What would his life be? You know,
Yeah.
what does he see himself doing? It's pretty interesting. Um, Arthur manages to get Kingfish to himself, and he interrogates the mob boss until he tells him that there's rumors Manta's held up in a volcano. Shin walks in on Manta talking to himself, although he's really communicating with the spirit from the Trident, who is doubting his efforts.
Mm-hmm.
I love the increasingly unhinged Manta, but I love him more through the eyes of Shin.
Yeah.
Like every time he sees him, he's just doing weird shit. And that's the guy who pays his bills. And he's like, at what point am I supposed to like completely intervene in this? Because I'm like, I've been mentioning things. What's going on here? This gonna happen again. Because he's gonna again try to warn him again, and he's gonna get a knife to his throat. You know.
I like when he catches. Like when he catches him talking to himself in the mirror, and he just like
Yeah.
no, like says nothing, just closes the door.
Yeah. Like, can't you see I'm doing something? I'm working on my monologue.
And like he gives him that one moment where he's just like, I'm not keeping you here at all. You're free to leave. Good luck with that.
Hey, go try yourself in that jungle. See how well you fare. It's like, damn. Arthur and Orm head to the mouth of the Devil Island. Sorry, to Mouth of the Devil Island, and see that all of its flora and fauna have been affected by the orichalcum in the air. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was a pretty cool creative choice. They discuss. It almost reminds me of what was happening? Was that mother box energy or whatever that was affecting Russia? What was that going on in there?
It might have been, yeah.
Remember, because it like grows like a plant or something. They never do anything with it, but like there's like a big moment there where I feel like it was affecting the actual plant life in the area.
Right.
This is where like one of the moments you're talking about here where they're discussing surface food and Arthur tricks him into eating a roach. And like really just gnawing down on it, and a big one, like a pretty big one.
Both of the people beside me just sink deeper into themselves at this scene.
Oh, just how gross it is.
Yes.
I actually have no problem with this scene here, and I don't even have a problem with the post credit. I just wonder what kind of establishment, has roaches that damn big. I can understand this being one in the jungle. That thing was like the size of his palm.
Yeah,
that thing's just walking around in that. He puts it in the burger, a burger-sized roach, bro. Come on, man, that place has to have bad food inspection.
It reminds me of something that I thought was very interesting once, where a guy is discussing, like, it's just like a chef guy, right? And he's discussing, fish-based meals, and at some point, crabs and lobsters come up, and when you get to the discussion of like cruelty toward animal life, he notes that generally speaking, crabs and lobsters are essentially like sea bugs, and we don't give nearly that level of deference to bugs on our own land.
100%. They always been calling lobsters and stuff roaches of the sea, and I think that's what doesn't he say something like this is a lobster of the earth or something like that?
If he
He just
does, I
like
missed
flips it
that line, but
around.
that's a decent sell.
Yeah, he sells it as a delicacy. I want to say he says it's like the lobsters of the land, and I kind of was like, yeah, like in my head, I'm like, he's not lying, you
Yeah,
know. And of course, we're like, people eat bugs, like that's a thing. We
I've
draw
heard
weird
of it.
lines, you know.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna eat them, but I'm just saying, you know,
I
like
can't. I can't even do the candy ones.
no,
Like
could
when
do
like
like the worm in the or the centipede in the lollipop or whatever.
no, it's the I remember we were at it's sugar,
Yeah.
and they had like the box of like chocolate covered ants, which like
Oh boy.
I know
Yeah.
is candy, but I can't get past the visual.
Oh my gosh. It's just the thing that bugs me with food in general, and this is a really quick aside, is always like the method in which you've figured this out, right? Like
Hmm.
all of it, like a bacon cheeseburger. How did you realize that you needed to, basically curd the milk from this one animal, then kill it, right? Cook it, kill a secondary animal, so you could take bits of fat and fry those to put it on top of the first meat that you had already. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that kind of stuff. So explaining that, yeah, you see that thing crawling there? Yeah, we eat those. You know, just like you would pull this fruit off of
Yeah,
off of a tree and eat it. Those are living things until we like yank them off, right?
yeah.
Where do we draw the line? Um, so boom, 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 boom. Shin warns David about trusting the Trident. This is like his fifth time talking to him.
Yes.
Uh, and after seeing, he touched it, he saw dark visions from it, and so he's telling him, he don't trust it. So David outright just threatens his life, pulls a knife on him, cuts him underneath the chin, and
Hmm.
says next time he does it, he's just gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Arthur calls Orm Loki and says that he will not be calling in help because Manta has made this personal. He also says if Orm was an asshole, he would still be king. And in that moment, his brother realizes that Arthur hates the job and never wanted it. What'd you think of Ocean Master's reaction to that reveal?
Before I actually get to that, I think it's sort of interesting now that I think about it. Where I'm curious what Manta thinks he needs Shin for that he didn't just kill him here.
He needs to find, well, I don't know about here, but later he needs to find the kingdom. And he knows where it's at somehow,
Shin knows where
strangely.
it's at.
Yeah, you would think he would, right? Like you would think the same way he knew where all the ships and stuff were.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the logic train just stopped. It
I
was
was
going
considering
this,
like there's got to be a reason he keeps Doctor Shin alive, but what for? When he's
it's
like
like,
sort of so close to the end of his goal here.
yeah, he just likes to threaten him on occasion. Like he's getting seemingly uh advice from like a generational ghost.
Yes.
So you would think every piece of information that he would need would be there. But yeah, they're also talking a lot about the power suit. Were they saying a lot about the power suit in the first Aquaman?
Uh, um, I mean, they don't say much about the power suit in the first one, but you get a lot
Yeah,
of Kane working on it and it getting broken and him needing another one.
right, right.
Um,
I mean, he got the shit beat out of him in that first one.
yes, he did. Split right down the middle.
I thought it was a bit of an embarrassing death with the cinder block. Like that felt like a jetpack malfunctioning kind of, like
The old
oh,
Boba
because he
Fett
wasn't.
death.
Yeah, and they kind of do it to him later on too,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what's going on here? Um, but yeah, they. Oh yeah, back to the Arthur and the throne. What'd you think of
So
Orm?
that was very interesting, and that's another one of those things where I think it's you get those little differences between not only do you get those little differences between them and Thor and Loki, which is like where they both coveted the throne, but like Arthur's like I wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
But also I think it's an interesting
I
thing
don't
about
want it.
how I think it's an interesting dynamic about how it is revealed here that Orm's father had told him all sorts of tales about who Aquaman was.
To usurper.
Yeah,
He literally said something along the lines of like, I waited every day. I was told like you were gonna come any minute.
yeah,
Like you're gonna come any minute to try to take my throne from me. That was just fated. I waited for you every day, kind of stuff. And I'm like,
yeah.
yeesh.
So he's got an idea in his head of who Arthur has been for years because of his father,
Yeah.
which is just like, okay, how many other lies has your father told you, dude?
Right. Right. That's why there's a vulnerability to Orm in this film. Where in the first one he felt like he knew it all because he did know it all. He was not the fish out of water in that one. It was the other way around. In this one, he doesn't. Even though he's a fish out of water, he doesn't let his majesty come in front of it. Like he's still curious. He's still open-minded. That's why he eats the roach, right? Because he's trusting, that he doesn't know everything about this situation, but Arthur does.
Yeah.
Like I said, we definitely got a couple more shades of Orm in this.
And maybe being locked up has like led to a certain level of humility about who he is and where his place is in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I think dehydration has to have negative effects on the brain. I would
and in more than a few ways.
Yeah. So yeah. They infiltrate Manta's volcano compound, but are exploded by his crew. That's the most descriptive way I can. They literally just get blown up. I thought Shin was dead. I was like, oh, because Shin's like trying to, at least at this point, he was trying to go with the Atlanteans because he didn't want to be around Kane anymore. So where did I just? Okay. A big fight breaks out with Manta's crew and their octopus machines and the two brothers. So I rolled my eyes a little bit here because all we had been talking about before this fight is that where they're at, the stuff that's around them, the stuff that's literally in every corner of where they're at is extremely volatile, but they're smashing around these big octopus machines trying to kill these two seemingly impervious men who just keep knocking into things and stuff. But Orm shows some kind of quick fancy footwork. He's able to show how useful he could be on the good side. So I thought that was cool. Orm underestimates Manta and is knocked out for it. Manta takes down Arthur and throws his trident at Orm. He misses, but Orm grabs it and sees a vision, but is eventually ended up fried by Manta's ray. Very powerful in this film. What do you think of Manta's new look? Basically the OG comic look, black wetsuit, big old silver head.
It didn't really come off as like different to me. I was just like, okay, the suit's a bit more streamlined now.
Yeah.
that totally makes sense. It's sort of like, how's the best I can put it? A little bit of the Flash, a little bit of Green Arrow, like we've perfected the actual outfit over trial and error.
Yeah. I would say I had an adverse reaction to seeing the old one.
Did you?
I was like, that's clunkier than I remember it being.
Okay.
I guess it's because I've seen all the promotional material of him in this.
Okay.
But then when I saw it again, I was like, oh, that's very John Henry Irons. It's
right. Right. But I think it also sort of like resembles the general pirate gear him and his father and all those guys had been wearing earlier in that film.
Yeah. Almost militia-esque, military inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, now he's just wearing a skin tight suit. He's got little fins on the side, and
I have the movie on next to me, and I'm actually at the scene with him and Nereus, and it's like when he mentions the Seven Kingdoms, it's Zebul who's still there because you have Nereus, the brine which he attacks, the fisherman we meet in this movie.
No, we met the fishermen in that movie, right? The first movie, no?
Aren't the fishermen the desert guys?
No, those are the jailers. of the
Okay.
fishermen. That's like the fish.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. It's not even. It's not even. It's not even connected. Like
that's a
they're
bit
the
more
jailers of
confusing.
the. Yeah, and they just dropped the lore that they are people that have drinking blood or something like that.
Okay.
And I was like, what?
Because he
Because the
keeps talking
fisherman,
about the treaty with the fishermen.
what's his name plays the fisherman king? Damon Hansu.
Okay.
He was double
Is he a
dipping.
voice or does he appear?
No, I want to say it's a complete CGI character,
Okay.
but very similar to Kingfish.
Right.
But yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it now. It's basically a complete CGI character. He's the one, I think, when they have Arthur chained. Oh no, that's Orm, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's in some sort of big fancy royalty
And
outfit,
then
and
it's
he has
like
like a fin.
the deserters, the trench had not yet fallen, the lost nation had not yet vanished.
The lost. Okay, so they already had the idea of this lost thing. They should have went back to the trench. I thought the trench was super cool.
I can see why. Yeah. Although I guess it's harder to put a even though a lot of this is Manta anyway, maybe it's harder to put a character on a bunch of monster fish.
You know what? I gave this film credit. I'm taking the credit away.
Okay.
Here I go. Here it goes. Here it goes.
We were so
I
close.
yeah, I'm taking a point off for them not committing to Manta as the big bad twice. Now,
I get that. I get the first one.
Yeah.
And because I think I read that James Wan said he had a specific plan to set up Manta in the first one for the second one.
Right.
Um yes, I agree. I was a little deflated when it was um possessed Manta.
Yeah.
That said, like it's not as bad as, say, he's not being driven to do something he doesn't want. He is simply being enhanced by his
Yeah, he's
already,
not a
like,
patsy. I wouldn't
yeah,
say, because he still believes he's getting what he wants. It
yeah,
just so happens that it's what the other guy wants too.
yeah,
Um, and his blood feud, he's ready to destroy the world for it, apparently.
yeah,
So that just shows you how laser focused he is in that instance. So in saying that, none of it's gonna make sense because you imagine being that laser focused.
yeah.
What did you think about and I chalk this up to there being so much distance between the two films. What do you think about the use of flashbacks in this film?
I was fine with it. I think it happened a little too much toward the end,
Yeah.
but at first I was fine with it. Um, I
When
can
you start talking to Orm, when he started to talk, and you got
yeah,
basically the little like mini movie.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
um, I think uh I think a lot of the particular flashbacks, specifically just to the first movie, were mostly okay. I guess, yeah, I guess when we think about the 5 year difference, there is a lot of like, well, do you remember this line? Okay, maybe you don't. I get it. Because they're at least at the climax of the Black Trident thing, there are previous overtures that they think are important to the development of Orm and Arthur's relationship. So
yeah.
I get harkening back to that, but they did use it a lot previous to that. So it
Right.
feels like we did a lot of it.
And can someone just tell the story of Atlan, like all of us, like all of it, please? I feel like there's some other chapters that are gonna come back to haunt us because you guys keep just telling us like parts of the story. Um,
Are you just waiting for somebody to show up and just be like, yo, Atlan was a piece of shit?
yeah. Uh,
Like, now I don't understand. At least in Odin, we kind of knew from the beginning.
I also just remembered like the whole first movie was about getting a trident, right?
Um, I wouldn't
His
say the whole
mother's.
first movie, but like getting the mother's trident does become a plot point
Are those like to
because he
fish?
has his mother's he has his mother's trident in the beginning, and I think it's just something he's always had.
Right, and Orm
Because
had
I
his
think that's
own,
the one
right?
he trained with Volko.
Yeah, I believe Orm had his own at the
Orm
time.
had his father's, and it had never known defeat.
Yeah, then he got his
And
ass defeated. I still blame Julie Andrews though.
well, yeah,
I
but
get.
we still don't know where the suit came from.
Do you think you could fish with a Triton?
Fish with a trident?
Yeah, yeah. Like if someone just left you on an island and gave you a Trident, do you think you could survive and like
uh,
hunt with that big fork?
if you're clever enough to be able to just like stand over the fish and be able to know when to just skewer
Stab.
down.
Right. It's got to be harder than it looks. Atlantis shows up and destroys Manta's compound, but Manta gets away. Everyone's pissed at Orm just for like existing because they were like, "Oh, you're an asshole." But
Yeah.
Arthur says he trusts him. Orm says he saw a vision in the Trident and knows what Manta's doing. During King Atlan's time, Kordax, who was
This also
Atlan's
happened
brother,
several
was the
times.
ruler of Necris. Necris grew by exploiting orichalcum. Atlan pleaded with his younger brother to stop using orichalcum before the world was destroyed, but in his deranged madness, Kordax thought Atlan was trying to seal the power of Necris. So Kordax created the Black Trident with dark magic and transformed the people of Necris and himself into monsters. The brothers went to war, but Kordax was defeated King Atlan and imprisoned him and all of Necris with ice with a curse that requires Atlan's blood to break it.
Basically, what we've learned is that Atlantis has its own Blackest Night
story. Right. When they said Necris, I was like, wait a minute, what are we doing here? And also, like, I thought it was a bit heavy-handed for Orm to not that he's expositing this stuff because that's just movies got a movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like he doesn't get any of the similarities. He's like, you don't get it, bro. It's so weird. These two brothers are like at war because like one didn't trust the other one. This entire time he was like corrupted by darkness. It's like, yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? It really sucks when you don't trust your brother and you guys want to fight over.
Doesn't sound familiar at all.
Not at all. So possessed by the very trident of Kordax, Manta tried to overheat the world, but now is just going to use the royal blood to free Kordax and his people once and for all. Using the power, that's another thing, right? They're like, oh, we'll just what did he say? Like, why don't we just keep him frozen, whatever? And somebody's like, don't you get it? This is blood magic. And I'm like, no, I don't get it. Like, somebody explain this to me. I don't know. I didn't know any of this stuff 10 minutes ago. I want to say it's Nicole Kidman who says it. It's like, don't you get it, you fool?
I don't even know what blood magic is.
Yeah, I didn't even know. How did we get here? So blood magic. Using the power of deduction, they realize that they must be after Aqua Baby. Boom. And indeed he is. He stabs Tamar Morrison, and I go, yes, because this is what happens in the comics. You kill my dad, I kill your dad. Yeah. And he goes, I'm going to leave you alive just so you can watch me do this. And I go, damn it. D. Kane, that's what they're going to be your undoing, bro. You don't finish the job.
Half measures.
Undoing. Yeah, you like. Matter of fact, we'll just chalk all of this up to possession, which will also chalk up the Shin stuff that we were talking about before with Manta. Okay. To possession. But if your goal is to take everything from Aquaman, right? Mm-hmm. And someone tells you that they'll give you the weaponry to hurt him, and somewhere in this exchange, you find yourself in his home with his child and his father. Two really close means of hurting him. Right there.
Yeah.
The dead center. But you're still focused on helping the guy so he can help you hurt him. I think you've lost it. You've lost the plot.
A little bit, yeah. Like this seemed like the really, really bad 0 hour.
Yeah.
Like this could have gone into a very dark direction.
Yeah, pretty safe. Like he put the baby in a blanket. Like like he made sure the mom Orson was still alive. Like he's doing pretty well for somebody who has a blood feud for all this.
And I think that's just one of those things where it's just like it gets to be a super dark moment in the comic books, but like they're like it's a movie. Just let them have their hero moment.
Yes, and I don't think infanticide is on the table for these films.
I don't
The
think so
closest we
either.
got, the closest we got were imaginary Wanda kids blipping out of existence, and they did that on TV. And they didn't
Right.
even do that in the movies. Like, imagine if you would have spent some time with those kids, and
And
then they
even
would take
then,
them
they make
away.
a point to remind you they're not real.
Yes, yeah, yep, yep. Then you hear their voices at the end, and then you see them again. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, they just miss Manta. He basically destroys the house, and they use some of their special fisherman high tech medical stuff on the Mandalorian while they discuss what they're gonna do. Where did I just go with there? Shin manages to transmit Manta's location to Atlantis in hopes of stopping this madman. So
Mhm.
Ocean Master and Aquaman head out with King Nereus
I'm
and
surprised
the Brine
nobody
King.
picked up that transmission.
It's somebody else randomly, right?
Yeah.
um, I also think like, is Manta a tech guy in these films? He
Enough
built his
to have
first helmet,
I was gonna
right?
say enough to have reverse engineered a bunch of water tech he doesn't understand.
Okay, yeah. From the Atlanteans. I was thinking to myself now, like he's kind of sitting back for a lot of this and making like the smarter people do stuff, but he is pretty smart to my knowledge. I also wonder who signs up for this crew, right?
I don't know. I
Uh,
know the main evil lady appears to be a comic book character.
she is credited as Stingray.
Yes. And
But
like I
I thought
just
you were gonna say
knew
she was in
that.
the first film.
Oh no, I don't. Is she?
No, I don't think so. That's what I'm saying. Like he had
Yeah.
a deep crew. He had a crew.
Yeah, because like
Um,
I thought it was interesting just how much focus was on her, and I'm just like, okay, I think she's a character, and I just don't know.
right. Um, they used the power of whales to destroy Manta's sonic emitters. So that was cute. Um, they are all attacked and have to do battle with Kordax. I was gonna say
Kodax?
Kordax. Yeah,
Kodax.
Kordax's defrosting army. And Orm gets a heroic moment where he saves King Nereus' life, earning his trust. Shin finally
Uh-huh.
betrays Manta by switching the baby out with a bomb. But he is stabbed in the back with Manta's arm harpoon for his measure. Always like the arm harpoon. I think that's a pretty sweet little gadget he's got there.
Oh, it
Later,
works wonders in Injustice too.
yeah, it does. Later,
Mance is kind of a badass in that game all around, actually.
I kind of want him to be more of a badass here. I mean, I guess that ship has sailed, but
Right.
I like his malice in this. I like his take no prisoners kind of attitude in this. Um, but like he is in a lot of ways Arthur's biggest nemesis, and he has no powers. Like that should be, we should raise his stock a little higher. In Necros, Arthur fights David to stop him from injuring Arthur Jr. Although Arthur is almost killed before Mira arrives, she manages to save her husband. David throws a black Triton at Mira as she was taking her son to safety, but Orm catches it before it strikes her. So the spirit leaves him and goes to Orm. That's what I'm saying. Once Manta's done with this spirit, he kind of gets
That was the
handily
one where we all went, oh
defeated.
no.
Yeah, he kind of gets handily defeated by Arthur.
I get
And
that, yeah.
he's kind of like a second thought in that moment. And then yeah, Orm that starts to go full Loki, green, green and everything. He's going for the.
He was about to come he was about to come Majin Norm.
Yeah, Kordax is basically
Majin
seducing
Orm.
Orm. Man, Majin Orm. Kordax is seducing Orm with the idea of finally taking the throne, freeing him. what the one line he says that it's simultaneously heartbreaking and puts you in a whole nother headspace when it comes to Orm is that when Kordak takes over Orm's body, he goes, "This one hates you more than the other one."
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, you didn't even kill his dad. Uh, so the spirit of Kordak leaves David for Orm, who proceeds to fight Arthur and uses his blood to reverse Atlan's magic, freeing Kordax.
Mm-hmm.
I was also like, doesn't Orm have the blood too?
Yes.
So why he had to fight Arthur to get the blood?
I think the point was that Orm. The point was that Orm initially thinks it's only the two of them, and that's when
Aqua baby.
That's when Arthur figures out no, he's going for the kid.
Right, but that's why I'm wondering now that he has this trident, why he doesn't just prick his finger and walk over to the. I guess you need a certain. No, you don't even need a lot of blood, right? It's not like he fucking poured. It's not like he poured Arthur's blood into the machine.
Listen, George. If he was a smarter man, he wouldn't have been in this position to begin with.
This is very true. Stop grabbing the trident. Like, stop. Sorry.
I also mean that for Kordax. If he was a smarter man, he wouldn't have been trapped here.
Speaking of which, he gets freed, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this movie feels over. Like it feels like the movie is done with itself.
Yeah.
So this has to end kind of like I didn't expect a big third act because I felt like we had 3 third acts, you know, like 3 very big set piece fights. So I'm like, it's weird that they're going to Orm for this, but like this is gonna be one of those beautiful lie moments in Wonder Woman. Like it's not to me. I didn't see a big fight coming.
Watching it, I thought to myself, I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, not only is this movie gone for a while, but I'm like the way they've built up Necron or Necros,
Kordax. He lives in Necris.
Okay, Necris. Yeah, the way they sort of built up the Necris problem was like, okay, this is too big.
Yeah,
this is too big for them,
bro.
This whole thing is a bit too big for them to be able to do anything with anytime soon, which means that would have we'd need a whole other half hour to this film,
right?
And I know that's not happening. So like, okay,
even though all of this is legend, everyone else, all the other Atlanteans, seem pretty nonplussed about it.
Yeah,
right. Like imagine if you were like, hey, I need your help, and I'm like, okay, and you're like, we're going to Oz, like the place Oz. I'm like, what? Like they get this is a lost kingdom. None of this.
I require backstory, sir.
Yeah, none of this is supposed to exist, but they're all there. They're seeing the actual zombie people. They see, the Kordax. I think he's gonna die soon, so I won't have to say his name much anymore. Arthur's like, bro, don't hate me, and Orm's like, yeah, you're pretty okay. And then because Peacemaker made the joke about fucking fish with Aquaman.
Yeah.
Aquaman kills Kordax the way Peacemaker almost dies in Suicide Squad. He uses a smaller bullet to shoot through the other bullet and kill the person on the other end of it.
You'll appreciate where my brain went where this happened. Where as it's ripping through the other trident, my head just goes barbecue sauce.
I like that. I also thought it should have
praise be to Ted Lasso.
Yeah, barbecue sauce.
Barbecue sauce.
Yeah. What if it would have just did like the Thor hammer and just been in pieces and still
right?
This thing was in half. Weird fish magic. I can't say I understand it, but it does exist.
You do also get a nice. You get to have a nice moment, I guess, of I guess you'd say redemption, at least on a small level between like Neris is giving Orm shit this entire film.
Yeah, yeah,
Where he won't trust him with a gun, and instead he gives him this tiny little axe.
yeah,
And
yep,
that's the one big moment of like potential Orm treachery you get. Neris is about to get ripped down by this like sea beast,
yeah,
and they have this great shot of Orm's like conniving bitch face as he
yeah.
watches Neris struggle, and he just disappears.
Because it's in that moment, it's a case of like I don't have to do something to be devious. Actually, the devious act is doing nothing.
Yeah,
You know, and
I could
can I
just
be
let
blamed
this
for
man
that?
die.
Yeah, can I be blamed for that? Can I be blamed for doing that? Like I was already coming up here, I didn't see him. Yada yada yada. So yeah. Oh, I forgot. His
And then, of course,
Aquaman's
he comes
mother
by and
is
makes the save, and then Neris gives him a gun. He's like, "Okay, I trust you now."
yeah. Then Draco, uh, Ivan Drago gives him a gun.
Drago. Yeah.
Uh, his mother's name is Atlanta,
Right. Yes.
not Atlanta.
No,
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. There you go. I
Atlanta.
was waiting for my own self. Like I was trying to separate those two things so I could say it right. What do you think of Kordax's death?
um. Like I said, it's about what I surmised in that moment. I'm like, there's no way we're gonna have a giant battle with this water celestial. So this is going to happen right now.
Yeah.
Um, cool shot. I'll say that.
There's also I'm just now realizing there's a lot of Black Adam in this too, or maybe Black Adam just stole a lot of from this.
How do you mean?
They end up getting the undead army. Remember? Because in my head I'm thinking now, right? Kordax
Uh,
dies, and they
yeah.
follow the comic book rule of if you kill the one bad guy, everyone else is gone.
Ah,
Right?
yes,
Like all
yes, yes.
the army is completely gone, and that's what
Yeah.
happened in Black Adam. Where they were fighting like a zombie horde of whatever. It happens in Shazam, where they have like they're fighting weird things as well. I can't even remember, just like monsters, I want to say. So yeah. Necrus starts to collapse because Kordak's magic is gone. David refuses Arthur's help and allows himself to fall. Says to his death. I don't think he's dead. But then again,
They're all dead
it
now.
literally doesn't matter, right? Like it literally, like we're never coming back to this.
They are functionally all dead now.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Then the meteor hit. That's how this movie should have ended. The movie should have ended like with some triumphant music, and then you just see a meteor in the background, and it just cuts to black. So the Atlanteans and Shin escape to safety, and Arthur and Mira decide to let Orm go and tell the rest of Atlantis that he died on the condition that he remains hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Believing the unification of the water kingdoms and the surface world is necessary, Arthur reveals Atlantis' existence through an announcement at the United Nations. He simultaneously takes the endings of Iron Man and Black Panther in this moment. By doing the United Nations, we're here and we come in peace, and the I am Aquaman. And in the post
Also, I'm
credits
trying
scene,
to remember what movie I saw recently where they did the gimmick where it's like, oh man, it's too bad that guy died back there. Shame he didn't make it.
oh yes. Yeah,
What
and then like,
was it?
the person takes a hot minute before they realize what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, huh. Hmm.
I feel like I've seen that plot used recently. That plot angle.
I don't even know how to even start looking at it.
It feels recent, but I'm not sure. Somebody,
comic booky?
I think so. Somebody who's like bad guy or persona non grata, like helped, and then like, oh no, he mysteriously died somewhere in this battle.
Yeah. Damn, that's gonna be
It's
It's
gonna
gonna be
bother
burning
you.
in the whole head. Uh, yeah. Now I just have a bunch of weird videos of things that say it's a shame.
Ah,
Uh, I like it. I like that. Again, I don't in a world where this continues. I don't think I think that bites him in the ass
yeah,
somehow, some way, right? Maybe with the Fisherman Kingdom or whatever. Um, but he Orm did a lot of good, so they let him be what he, let him live his life. And in a post credit, Orm puts Roach in his burger and chows down, and no, and almost feels at home finally because it was the first thing he ever ate on the surface world. So
yes.
I want to believe that he's gonna come up with like his
It's
own
like you
cookbook
people
of
have
like,
terrible names for your meals.
yes, he's gonna have his own cookbook where he's putting various bugs and inside shit. Um,
Crustacean diet.
but yeah, they didn't even give this film a red carpet premiere.
No, not at all. They say
Um,
it is the driest promotion I've ever seen for a sequel to a
Then
movie that made $1 billion.
it's the driest thing, and the whole majority of the movie takes place underwater.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I'm gonna look for one. So right now it's already made half its money back.
hmm
It was budgeted for 205 to 250 million. It's has a box office of 120 million. Um, I don't see this hitting the heights that the other one did,
Not at all.
but it is a holiday weekend. Maybe people will be super into going to see Aquaman this weekend. We
Maybe.
shall see. Um, one more thing I wanted to check. Uh, but
Yeah, I don't
yeah.
think I doubt the numbers will be anywhere close.
Oh, no, no, no. I was trying to figure out why exactly Willem Dafoe couldn't.
I
Uh,
think it was a scheduling issue. Uh,
yeah. Um, what?
hmm.
uh, apparently
Okay.
it says that this is Nicole Kidman's first movie sequel, where she was in both the first and the second.
She's not in any of the other Batman movies, is she?
No,
Okay.
I don't think many of the films she does get sequels.
No, I don't think they do.
That is interesting. But yeah, I think that's it. This thing came in with a bang. The DCEU, now just like a wave, it's returning back to its form, and I guess the next time we see it, it'll be way different. Momoa's been saying over and over again that he's not playing Lobo, or he wishes he was. Do you believe him? Do you think he's
No,
trying to?
not one bit.
No.
I believe him as much as I believe Andrew Garfield.
There was footage of him like very excitedly leaving Warner Brothers with some piece of paper in his hand.
Yeah,
Super, and I don't think it had anything to do with this.
and like he's made. I think he's made the comment before that like there were some deals being made and that if anybody knows him, they know exactly why he's very excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I saw him play coy on a talk show where they were like, "So Aquaman 3, is that in the works? Does that happen if this does good?" And he's like, no, I think we're done telling this story as it is, but if I know anything, there's still gonna be room for me at DC." I was like, "Yeah, that's all the right political things to say."
Yeah,
You're telling the truth. You are telling the truth. Um, but yeah, although we don't know where we'll be seeing Jason Momoa next, where you'll be seeing us next. And that's part of the Major Issues podcast each and
yeah.
every week. We're dropping episodes on Thursday now. After episode 300, it's been a cool little shift to the schedule. Gives us some more time, some more breather to take on some of this stuff here. The year is
Especially for
ending.
movies where like the release dates get a little tight.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, and then because I'm used to seeing everything the day of, and that's a lot to ask of everybody, even our audience on occasion, So giving them time to go
Yeah,
out there and check it out and be able to talk about this stuff has been great.
I was a
Well,
Thursday night premiere guy for a few years there until I got back on the overnight shift.
Right, right. And yeah, it could be rough to try to chase that, and then you got to pin down times in your normal day, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Next
so
next week's
yeah,
a big episode.
and next week is best and worst, right?
Uh, for what I can see, it looks like year in review.
Year in review, yeah, best and worst, yeah, yep,
Oh,
yep,
okay.
yep, yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I put I
I
put
thought
year
of
in review, but it was
I thought of which was worse for some reason.
oh no. Yeah, we're doing best and worst. It's really this year's kind of been a bit of a fog for me when it comes to comic book media. Like even when I left seeing Aquaman 2, I had to remind myself I saw three other DC movies this year. That's
Hmm.
probably one of the most in history of that franchise. You know, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, Shazam was this year, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be fun to talk about the best and worst
Shazam, Flash,
things.
Aquaman, and
Blue Beetle.
yes,
Keep forgetting a boy Jaime.
I've seen 3 out of 4 of those.
But that's because Blue Beetle
Beetle
is
might actually be my favorite.
Beetle. Beetle is the Aquaman, right? He's of two worlds.
Yes.
He came out now around the time of the DCEU, but he is in James Gunn's
Oh my
DCU.
God, Jaime is Miles.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. The last remnants of a dying world.
Uh
Um, but
he
yeah,
he gave he gave that molecule man a hamburger,
yeah, yeah. He's had it for way too long.
and he gets to
Um,
survive. He gets to survive the destruction of his
he gave
universe.
James Gunn a hamburger,
Yes, he
a big
did.
belly burger. There you go.
It's like you get to live. You and your
I like
family and
you.
friends and co-stars.
You, yeah, it's gonna be so good. And yeah, I think they just showed a picture of Batista saying he got some script for something. So people are saying it might be something James Gunny. So we'll see. They go way back from Guardians.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
we're
think at
constantly.
this point he's just willing to work with James Gunn on whatever he wants.
Yeah, he's worked with some pretty prolific directors lately and writers and stuff like that. Dave, he was in Dune. He was in James Bond. He's been uh, a player in some of these bigger universes. So I could see him wanting to jump in on this. When he picked Drax, it was because he had nothing else. Like he really, he wasn't. People weren't knocking on his door for that.
Yeah,
But now he is an actor that
this
can pick and choose what he wants to
WWE
do.
famously flubbed him.
Yeah, I can't believe that's one of those
We don't
like
even know if that movie's gonna make any money.
what a year for him. That's one of the weirdest years for him in his life to go through what he went through in Guardians, but also simultaneously go through what he went through in WWE. He was like
Yeah,
hated. No one wanted him around. What are you doing here? You're in the middle of all our Daniel Bryan stuff. Get out of here. And meanwhile, he's breaking records. He's on red carpets, having a blast getting his name out there. It goes to show you how some of these worlds may not be as big as we may think that they are.
yeah.
But we'll always be talking on this side about this world, everything that's going on here, the latest and greatest things to come to comic book media as part of ComicBookClique.com. Like I said, next week is the last episode of the year. Does it even come out? No, it
Uh,
doesn't. It comes
uh.
out. This is the last episode of this year. The next episode will come out. It'll be the first episode of next year. So we'll be
Yes.
reviewing. We will definitely be reviewing 2023 with it in our
I do want to ask you one more thing before we fully sign off.
Yeah.
Because I know how you've always felt about the movie, not in a vacuum, but in the in the respect of how it frames the universe.
Uh-huh.
Do you still feel the negative effects of Man of Steel in this film?
Not this one in particular. I think that somewhere along Wonder Woman and Shazam, we were really going through an uptick of humor, of heart.
Okay.
That I think that they were going to see through. I
So
really
so
did have a
basically
lot
the
of
post
hopes.
Snyder overcorrection almost.
Yeah, I had hopes that the second Man of Steel would be like that would be the perfect amount,
Yeah.
Like we would have gotten exactly where we needed to go with that. And then it just ultimately didn't end up happening. And it to me it just feels like lost time. Well, I
Yeah.
don't feel the effects of it here. The reason why I'm mad at this film is it felt like it should have came out earlier or like it could have beaten so many of the stuff Marvel did before it even got there. if we would
Sure.
have had confidence in this character, in this story, etc. And now, for no fault of its own, I can't help but be like, I've seen this, I've seen that, similar to the Blue Beetle of it all.
Yeah.
Um, so it goes
I
to show, that first step in the franchise world, it's got to be something. You got to know what you're doing, man. You can either
yeah.
do Iron Man or you can do the Mummy, right?
I think I think now we're in a fun position where I think we are a year and a half away, which could technically feel long, but maybe not that long.
Mhm.
A year and a half away from once again launching a DC cinematic universe with the Superman.
Yeah.
And at the end of Superman Legacy, it will be very interesting to talk about another beginning with the boy in blue and
Yeah.
how it may shape the the universe to come.
Oh, all over again, and I'll never get tired of that conversation. And what I truly can't wait is for, like, when episode 600 of this podcast comes out, and we're talking about they're doing it. They're bringing Cavill in. He's putting the suit back on. They're referencing the old universe. Just like how all this stuff comes full circle.
Cavill would be Kingdom Come Superman.
Yeah, but just like how we're doing, everything in Marvel right now is a love letter to Marvel. Everything in the MCU right now is a love letter to Marvel as a whole.
Yeah.
They'll be doing that as well, and I can totally see Gunn.
That's what I mean. Like Cavill would be
Making
coming
good.
back, and they'd bring him back with the whites on the side of his head and the
Yeah,
black
yeah,
logo.
yeah. Then Wonder Woman could actually wear her chicken suit,
Oh my
and
god!
it makes sense. But yeah, man, just follow us wherever we are, and we're everywhere. You can look us up at facebook.com/comicbookclick, Instagram at comicbookclick, or you can use the hashtag comicbookclick to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. We're at Major Issues CBC on Twitter. We're also at Major Issues CBC on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
We are at patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month. You can help us keep our lights on here and afford the hardware and the software that we need to keep providing you guys with some stuff free of charge. Before the year's out, the first episode of our new video series will be coming out, so that's super exciting. But this stuff takes work, it takes time, and sometimes it costs money. So consider helping us. Buy a piece of merchandise from our T Public store. You can get that by going to comicbookclick.com. You can tell a friend to tell a friend about our podcast, which helps us grow our numbers. By the end of this year, we would have doubled our numbers on Facebook, which is a huge accomplishment. It took us forever to get to around 9,000 followers last year, starting from, I want to say maybe 3, 4. And now we are rounding out 18,000. We're like 17. We're like 17.9 something.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're right there. So yeah, you guys keep elevating us. You guys keep helping us. You guys keep, telling a friend to tell a friend. Just grow the click, and we will keep rising to the occasion and keep providing you guys with this content that we love to do. This has been a gift from us, but this is also a gift you guys give us by allowing us to have these conversations. And these are conversations that are saved, they're saved on the interwebs. These conversations I get to have with my friends, even when a movie doesn't necessarily wow me, I still get to have this. And that's, the best part of all this, in my opinion. So thank you guys for all the support that you guys give us. Follow us wherever you guys want to follow us. Do you want to plug DSR?
Yeah, check out us on Dirt Sheet Radio, me and other Major Issues alumni, Jonathan Escudero, aka Yogi, as we discuss all things professional wrestling and professional wrestling related. We've also got some long stuff lined up because we will also be doing Radio Kingdom, which is
No, I was gonna say, what is that?
Radio Kingdom will be me and Jonathan Escudero staying up late at night to watch Wrestle Kingdom live. Mostly probably just to keep each other awake.
That is interesting. I thought you guys were doing like a King's Road thing.
No, much as John would love to do that, there is not the bandwidth space in our lives to fit that commitment in.
Right. And you guys can see we're all across the board just happy to talk about these things that we love and bring this kind of conversation to you guys. So yeah, go over. I'll put a link to Dirt Sheet Radio's link tree in the show notes, like I did last week. Go over and check out everything that they're doing. We got the Royal Rumble coming up. We got Wrestle Kingdom coming up. World's End next weekend. Check out all that stuff. They got post show live discussions, and then they got a podcast that drops each and every week. I know some of the guys over there, they're pretty cool. So go ahead and check that out. But I think that's all I've got for this last episode of the Major Issues Podcast in 2023. So my name is George Serrano, aka The Don.
I'm Gregory Thomas, aka GT Rebirth.
And this has been our Aquaman 2, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom recap and review. And remember, whether you're the king of the ocean, a filthy surface dweller, a DCU lover, or a DCU hater, you guys are always part of the clique. Merry Clickmas. And always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy.